And one of the things that I learned in the first 5 years of marriage is that even if I didn't mean it, it didn't matter. You understand? So if I stepped on my wife's toe by accident and she got mad, and I would say, well, I'm sorry, I didn't even mean to. I didn't even mean to do that. She said, well, what difference does it make whether you didn't mean to? You did. Everybody's still with me. And the pride in me would have to be like, you are right. I'll be back in a minute. I'll take a break. The same thing applies to the things of God. How many people do you know will suggest, submit, even offer to you, I'm a good person? As if to say that my offering of goodness is satisfactory to God despite what He may want from me. So if God says to you in your spirit, I want you to start offering to me X, whether it be money, Y, whether it be worship, Z, whether it be some sort of time, some sort of offering, and you offer Him A, B, and C, D, E, and F, G, H, and I. As a matter of fact, you just offered Him 3 or 4 more times what He asked for, and maybe in different forms. Do you know that you just had good intentions, but you were not intentionally living according to God's plan? So for example, quite often I say to the kids, I need you to pick up that piece of paper that you just dropped, that sock that you just left over there, go put your shoes in the hallway, close the door, use the bathroom, wash your hands, and then, all right? I come back 5 minutes later, the piece of paper is there, the sock is there, the shoe is there, the stuff is not in the hallway, they haven't washed their hands, but they use the bathroom. Yeah. All right? So now, the defensive mechanism is to do what? To start telling me what you did. Come back to me. Because it wants to be a good faith offering to me to show that I had good intentions. But that doesn't satisfy me because I see a greater purpose beyond you just picking it up. It's not just because it's annoying me. It's because I know for the sake of organization that does not belong there. For the sake of the fact that you need to be in bed, you need to put your shoes back over there and be prepared in the morning so that when you're looking for your shoes again, you'll know exactly where to find. Is anybody talking back to me? Yeah. The same thing with us as we begin to approach the things of God. We think that we can satisfy God with whatever offerings we want to offer Him, and we think that He should be satisfied with that. How's that look? God says, pick that up, move that over there, and then you can rest. And we say, God, I started resting already. And God says, well, that's not what I asked you to do. Think about how dissatisfied God must be when He asks us to do something, and we know that it's supposed to work for our good, but we don't trust Him enough to say, yes, God, even though I can't see where my victory, my joy is going to come out of this yet, I think I want to keep the reins on it and do it the way that I want to do. Somebody say, I'm with you. So that's what we mean by good intentions, and I want us to move to intentional living. Intentional living is just a little bit different. I'm still setting this up, but it'll make a lot more sense in a second. Intentional living is this. Intentional living is where we have a plan in place and we abide by the plan even if we can't see how it's going to work for our good in the end. It requires a level of trust in God. It requires a level of comfort in God's plan for us. We quite often like to say that God has a plan for my life and I'm excited about that plan. But the truth be told, can I tell the truth? Most of us don't know what that plan is. Now, if we're going to lie to ourselves and pretend, most of us will say, oh, I thank God for His plan. You don't know what God's plan is. The best Christians out of all of us don't know what God's plan is. It's yet unfolding for Sean Edwards, and I've been walking with God for a while. Amen, somebody. I thought it was going this way, and then sometimes, so wake up, surprise. All right? This person's gone. This person's in. Yeah. Well, who's this person? God says, you're about to find out. I thought that this was going to be my 5-year plan. God says, no. What about this? You can try to plan out your whole life, and God will begin to say, that's nice. That's cute. How how wonderful that is, but that's not what I have for your life. Can you really be available to God's directions and trust him at the place where even though what he says and what he's cutting off, curtailing, directing you or redirecting you towards is different from what you had in mind? It is hard. And so as I've been sick over the last month, I got, what do they call it, cabin fever? I got cabin fever this week. So on my rest day, I decided to go out to the mall. And as I went to the mall, I had one thing in mind. There were some shirts that we got last week for the men, and I had some extras. I was like, you know what? Nobody's really a medium here. Amen. We got to keep that in prayer. So let me bring these 2 medium shirts back to the store. That was going to be my whole day's assignment. I get in the car and I go out to, it's one of those outdoor strip malls, and I return the shirts at Modell's. And before I returned the shirts, I found myself looking at sneakers. I don't even wear sneakers. Then I'm over in the exercise equipment saying, I really need to pick up some exercise equipment. The next thing I know, there's a Marshall's right next door, so I find myself in Marshall's. They don't have my size, but I'm still in the store. I'm like, you know what? The kids could really use some extra size. The next thing I know, I'm in Target because the Target's right over there. The day became over, and all I did was return 2 shirts. Many of us have the same issues in life. Imagine life being the shopping mall experience. And you go into it for one particular purpose, and as you look around, many of us are picking up things that we did not go there for. Come on, come back to me. All right? Like you're unshelving depression. You're unshelving sickness. I'm not just talking about illnesses that you can't prescribe. I'm talking about stuff that you're prescribing for yourself. Come on here. Is anybody talking back to me? You're starting to unshelve frustrations. Then you're dissatisfied with what's in this store. Let me go over to this other store because it looks bright on the outside here. Maybe there's some good stuff in store for me here. And after you begin to go around, it might be so expensive that you start going in the clearance aisle. Oh, this is easy to attain. And so you start unshelving things that are easy for you to attain. But it's no good for you. Come on, talk back to me now. Anybody in here ever gone to the supermarket hungry? My God. When you go to the supermarket hungry, though, guess what happens? You don't start picking up fruit. Amen. In the name of Jesus. You don't start picking up asparagus and broccoli and cauliflower. You go to the junk food aisle, and the stuff that's no good for you, you start unshelving it. The next thing you know, you get to check everything out, and you're like, where did all of this stuff come from? What do you do next? You convince yourself, well, it's on sale. Anybody ever go in with maybe a $15 budget, and they say they ring it up and they're like $75, and your whole life flashes behind you, in front of you, right? Lord, how long? Kids got a trip on Wednesday. Then you look behind you, there's a whole long line of people, and you don't want to look bad, right? Why would she pick all that stuff up? Why would he go shopping for all that stuff if he knows he couldn't have? So here you go now, you're in the parking lot, you're getting into your cab or into your car or on the bus with a whole bunch of stuff you really don't need and really don't want. Yes. Same thing in life. You unshelved all of these things, not what you came for, but you look behind you and everybody's just like, you don't have time to turn back around. So you push it on out. Anyway, this must be my portion in life. This must be my lot in life. Huh? Oh, it's easy to unshelve, so I'll consume it anyway and worry about the results afterwards. It brings me to my text. And then I want to unshelve something that I'm telling you, once I got this revelation, it broke me open this month. Romans chapter 8, verse 28. I'm in the Amplified version of the Bible. Now watch this. And we know, that is with great confidence, that God, who is deeply concerned about us, causes all things to work together as a plan. All right, now, this is why I chose this text. Do you know that really and truly at the bottom of all of this, God actually has a plan for you? That what you're going through is not happenstance or accidental. It's planned. That God is living intentionally and He expects you to be intentional about your living. Watch this. God is deeply concerned about us and causes all things to work together as a plan. So in other words, there may be things that you have unshelved that God already knew in His infinite wisdom before time was a construct that you would unshelve. Depression, frustration, challenges, issues, relationships, people that you don't need to unshelve that you're unshelving and walking out with. Hear me? And God is saying, even in all of this, I'm going to work it together as a plan. In other words, by the time I'm done using everything you've unshelved, there's going to be a pathway that I'm going to have result in something. All right, now stick with me here. I'm telling you that this revelation is powerful. So it's a plan because He knew that you were going to choose that. Stick with this. It's a plan for good for those who love God, to those who are called according to His plan and purpose. I want you to catch this. We quite often say all things are working together for good for those of us who love God, but you underestimate the good is for those who love God. That's not even a revelation. The good is for those who love God. In other words, if you love God, even though you're unshelving things that He knows are not good for you, He's going to work it together for a plan for your good. Woo! Now, why is that important? That's important because when you understand that, it allows you to trust God despite the fact that you don't see the good yet.
Yes.
Man, in other words, there's some things that you've unshelved. God didn't unshelve it. You unshelved it. God says, though, I will work it together for a plan, such that even though you walked out with it and you know you had no business messing with it, or can I go there? There are some things you walked out with and you have business messing with it, but it's still not working together for your good. And in those cases, God said, if you trust me, I want you to understand it's still for a plan. Now, here's the frustration. God, what is the plan? Because I don't see how what this thing is working together for my good. Everybody still with me?
Yes.
That's what brings us to prayer. Okay? I go to God in prayer because of circumstances and expectations. 1 and 2. I go to God in prayer because of circumstances and expectations. In other words, my circumstances bring me to a place where I realize I cannot do this by myself. And so I go to God in prayer. Everybody still with me? All right? Now, part 2. The other thing that brings me to God is expectations. God, I'm expecting you to help me. God, I'm expecting that this thing wouldn't have gone the way it is. And so I'm coming to you to see what's up. Circumstances and expectations bring me before God. Here it is. So God sees me, has a plan. I go to Him with circumstances and expectations. But this is the thing that causes us to become frustrated. Here it is. It's the thing that causes us to become frustrated. God, most people who teach me a certain kind of way. They tell me that I'm going to go through this so that I could develop X, Y, and Z, these respective characteristics. All right? Every good teacher in here knows that if you're teaching right, the class already knows where you're going before you finish. Come on, stick with me here. All right? Good teachers know the class should be able to finish where you're going. In other words, that's why professors give you a syllabus. That's why teachers teach according to a curriculum. That if principal comes in and does a sit-in on the class, principal shouldn't be able to say, what in the world is this? Principal says, okay, we're here, there, and there. Good. This is working according to schedule. Same thing for the student. The student knows at the end of the day, if I went through the book, I don't know how to do these problems yet, but if the teacher continues in this vein, I should be able to answer these problems by the time the week is over. Everybody still with me? All right. You can become frustrated, however, with God because God doesn't do that. Why am I going through this? You pray because circumstances and expectations bring you to God. What is the purpose of all of this? God, because you have a plan for me, right? Our distrust is starting to creep up to the top, even though we don't want to acknowledge it. So our prayers become exercises in displaying frustration to God as opposed to displaying trust that ultimately a plan is going to work together for my good. Oh, we're not going to try to, we're going to try to sugarcoat this down. Let's all be real about it. Many of our prayers are out of frustration. God, why would you do this or allow this to happen? You know I'm trying to. That's circumstances. God, I thought by now that we would have had expectations. Watch this. You can become frustrated also because watch what God does. He not only does not tell you what direction he's going, he doesn't tell you how he's going to do it. He doesn't even tell you who else is going to be involved. So how do I know that she is not really out for my detriment? God says, I got a plan. Are you trusting me? How do I know that this? Watch this. Anybody in here ever gone through a season where it seems like you're going backwards instead of forwards? Yes. Doesn't it then seem frustrating because you're saying to yourself, God, if I'm serving you, if I'm faithful, I'm praying, I'm spending time with you, why are you taking me backwards? Why am I going back to things that I thought I was over? Why are you bringing back circumstances, feelings, and situations in my life that I thought I had crossed that threshold already? God, why are you allowing me to go back to behaviors that I displayed? And it's not me because I told you, I thought I was over this. But you're bringing some things back into my life that's bringing some things to the surface. Woo, who's what? Man, I'm telling you, I'm preaching on myself. Who's with me today? So here it is. The question becomes, why am I going through all of this? That's really what my prayer is. Why? Why am I going through all of this? And God, as the good teacher that he is, the master teacher that he is, says nothing. Nothing. Who are you? Who are you to question me? Who knows the very beginnings and the ends from each other? Who are you to think that you know better for yourself than I know better for you? That is deep. Do you hear what I'm saying? You think that you have your best interest in mind. God says, I have your best interest in mind more than you do. Right. Folks, y'all are not hearing what I just said. God has your best interest in mind better than you have your best interest in mind. You know how profound that is? That's why he says, I'll work it together for good if you love me and are called according to my purposes. But we missed that second part. If you're called according to my purposes. My purposes. Oh, y'all, man. All right, I'm still not at the revelation. Everybody still with me? All right, here we go. Here we go. Not only do you develop frustration, not only do you develop challenges with God in your relationship, here it is, you also develop resentment. Now you start to resent the way God moves in your life. And what happens when resentment builds in? You don't want to spend time with the person that you have resentment for. Come on, talk back to me now. That's why there's a lot of parents that don't communicate with children. I resent you. I resent what you've done. Hear me. There are many people who don't come back to church because they resent God. You stayed silent when grandma died. You stayed silent when he walked out on me. You stayed silent even though I paid my mortgage for 15 years straight. Year 16, I lose my job and they take the house, and where were you? I don't need God. I can do battle by myself. Oh, y'all heard it. So that's what happens when circumstances and expectations, you're not trusting God to be able to meet them. Here we are. What does God do? Stay silent. So what's the revelation? How is he a master teacher? How is this so great? Somebody say, I'm ready.
I'm ready.
Elbow your neighbor, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. If you don't have a neighbor, you're trying to be cute all by yourself. You're in the wrong place. Come on now. You go to the library for that. I need you to work with somebody. All right, you got your neighbor up. Say here's the revelation.
Here's the revelation.
It's going to free you because it freed me. It's going to free you. It's going to free you. And I'll explain how. God is the only teacher I know, hear me, who gives the test first and then gives the lesson. I'm done. I was so confused. I only got that this month. Why in the world, with all the stuff I have to do, would you strike my body with sickness, Lord? And he says, Sean. I said, no, not funny. I'm out there every day. He says, shh. Be still and know. Okay. Well, you got me still. You got me still, so now help me to know. And that's what he said. He said, I'm the only teacher who will give you the test first and give you the lesson after. Stick with me. So here's why you become frustrated. Because as you're going through the test, you're raising your hand. Teacher. You did that. Come on now. I got 3 kids. If they ever come home with a grade, the first excuse that I always hear is, they didn't teach us that. I can't be held accountable for something. No, as a matter of fact, she only went over. Everybody still with me? Come on now. Everybody says, raise your hand. Teacher. Where was the class on somebody walked out on me and got my credit messed up? I need to explain. Where's that class? Come on, talk back to me. Where's the class on cancer? Hello? Oh, y'all are quiet in here. Where's the class on diabetes and I'm not even 30 yet? Y'all are quiet on me. Come on now. Where's the class on we were both going to church together?
Come on.
Huh? Where's that class? Where's the class on if I keep myself in perfect peace and my hormones are raging, Jesus? I'm waiting on my Boaz. And preach the same thing to me too. Come on now. Where's that class? And watch this. The master teacher, when he's giving a test, just like any good teacher, doesn't talk. Which teacher talks while he's giving or she's giving a test? None of them do. And so our frustration sets in. I'm trying to get your attention. And he's like, I know, but you didn't finish the test. Come on with me. All right? Then, if you're a good student, you're trying to figure out ways to get into the teacher's thinking so you can circumvent the answers knowing that you don't know what you don't know. Y'all with me now, all right? Anybody ever took a test, and as you're taking the test, you're looking at the answers on the multiple choice and you're like, I have no idea. Not even a conception. If you told me Kermit the Frog was the answer, I could not argue with you. And so watch this. If you're smart, you will try to get into the teacher's thinking. Well, this can't be right. I've never heard the teacher talk about it's a math class, so I don't think Shakespeare's the right answer. Y'all understand? You start to by the process of elimination. You start to get into the teacher's thought process. So forth and so on. The same thing happens with us. But guess what? God says my ways are not.
Yes.
My thoughts are not your thoughts. So that leaves me frustrated. What do I do? Do I keep going? Do I keep trying? Do I stop? Do I abandon this? Do I go to somebody else? What's next? And God says, nothing. Why? Because the lesson has not even been taught yet. So God, we got this great revelation. What's up? What's next? God says, okay, are you done with the test? I says, yeah. All right, now let me review for you and put you into the right place. Hear me? Everybody still with me? I'm almost done. Watch this. If you can get my next text up, watch this. God begins to review with you, but he still doesn't reveal the end. He still doesn't reveal what it is that you're supposed to accomplish. Because if he did, guess what? You would skip to that and leave it.
Yes.
If you had to know that Tom, Dick, and Harry is not it, you would not go through Tom, Dick, and Harry. Y'all quiet here. Come on with me. And then I would just go straight to John, right?
Yep.
God, why would I go through Tom, Dick, and Harry if John is it?
Right.
Keep it real. Let's go. So God says, well, if I just give you John, you will leave me while you're with Tom, Dick, and Harry.
Yes.
If I give you healing and I need cancer to teach you what I got to teach you, then you're just going to skip me during the cancer process. But that leads me to revelation number 2. Because he's working the plan for his purpose, I now begin to understand that his purpose is greater than my desire.
Yes.
My desire is for the healing. God's desire as the master teacher is to just be with me.
Yeah.
God. Now, here's the thing that kills us as human beings and people in the flesh. We think God's desire to just be with us is not lofty enough. You just want to be with me? Well, we don't need cancer for all of that being with me stuff. You don't understand? You just want to be with me? Well, you don't need to withhold all that I've been praying for you to be with me. Here it is. We don't think that God's desire is lofty enough. God, who created you, who knows your idiosyncrasies, who knows what you want and what you desire and still says no and wants better for you than you want for yourself, is not good enough to tell you what his plan is for you. And led one writer in the Bible to say, if you slay me, I still trust you. Jesus. I'm not all the way there yet. As a human being, I'm going to be real with you. I'm not all the way there yet. There's some things that I experienced in my life and I turn my back on God for a minute. Here's why. Revelation number 3, and I'm done. Watch this. Here's why. You, God, created the appetite for what I want in me. Why create the appetite in me only to withhold the good thing? Huh. Frustrating. It's like, you know, a parent with a nice, juicy, whatever a kid likes. If you do this, I'll have you get this. And the kid does it, and they come, and you go, no. Everybody still with me? But I misunderstood. God never dangled a prize in front of me that was what I thought it was. I superimposed in the picture that God presented the prize.
Yeah. Right.
I thought the prize was the healing. I thought the prize was the wife. I thought the prize was the good grades. I thought the prize was the car. I thought the prize was the house. I thought the prize was the baby. I thought that the prize was an expanded family. I thought the prize was the good job. I thought the prize was the 6-figure salary. Anybody ever got to the prize and realized ain't nothing there?
Yeah. Come on. Talk about it.
After the new car smell wears off.
Talk about it.
High five somebody and just express yourself real quick. After the new closet. Direct deposit number 6 just got into your bank account and it doesn't do anything for you
Oh,
anymore.
Lord.
Huh? Saved, sanctified, 6'3", chocolatey, whatever your thing is. Beige, I don't matter to me. Everybody got their own thing. Not mine. I'm just trying to make a point. And after all that wears off, just like any other human being, they wake up in the morning, their breath smells. Oh, y'all want to be quiet on me now. I'm just telling you facts. They're human beings just like you. So the very idolization of the thing, God says, I can't have you idolize that thing and it take my place. And so the very thing that you are putting in my place, I have to sometimes suspend it, or sometimes withdraw it, or sometimes apprise you of the fact that that was never what I had in mind for you, because all I wanted was you. Folks, some of you are still wrestling right there. God, that just can't be it. There has to be more, right? All right? I'm almost done. Watch this. Here's why you think that there has to be more. You're looking at somebody else's shopping cart. Come unto me, all ye who labor, and I will give you rest. Pastor, what does that have to do with anything? Stick with me, watch this. I have not come to abolish the law, but to fulfill it or give it its full meaning. Pastor, 2 abstract scriptures, what does that have to do with anything? Here we go. Watch this. There therefore remains now a rest for the people of God. 3. You're really losing me here. All right, here we go. Let's bring it all full circle, and we're going to get ready to go home. Y'all can smell the mac and cheese you put in the oven already for this morning. Here it is. Watch this. God says, I am your rest. In other words, when you put your cares in me, you bring your expectations and your circumstances and you leave them at my feet, trusting in my plan, you now have to rest. What causes you to come out of rest is Facebook, Instagram. Y'all quiet. Instagram, Twitter, because it gives us a glimpse into somebody's best. That's not even their reality. Oh, they're in Dubai this weekend. Now all of a sudden you are good with the Poconos, but the Poconos can't do it. No, y'all don't leave me out there. Am I right about it? You were good with your Metro card until you saw, but so and so, they don't even work a good job. How are they getting that car? All of a sudden you're at car dealerships that you can't afford. Out of your rest. He says, I will give you rest. But he's not good enough for you, is he? Watch this. All of a sudden, you begin to, God says, there's so much I have in store for you, but your time can't be taken up with somebody right now. But God, my 30s are going to be behind me. Nobody's going to want me in my 40s. God is just like, do you know who I am? You think that I can make a person. Folks, you're only laughing because y'all didn't read the Bible. Adam was alone with animals. As an adult, God puts him to God put him to you still don't get it. When you rest, he goes to work. God put him to I know I set you up. God puts him to rest and creates a whole messing with Tom, Dick, and Harry, and God says it's been done the whole time, but you didn't want to go through rest. You wanted to work it yourself. My God. And as you're working it, your hand is, God, I don't understand what's going on. I'm working together the plan, but you messed this up. Now, I told you I'm done. There's a group of people in here. Hear me. You're saying, but my expectations and my circumstances are not because of mess ups. The reason I'm going before God is not something I messed up. It's something that I was expecting that he would do or whatever the case may be. And God says, who told you that that was for you?
Wow.
Who? But I look in everybody else's shopping cart and they got it. Watch me. Any good students in here know you were in a rest with your B+ until you looked over and Annie got an A-. I didn't see her studying. Come on, talk back to me now. Right? I didn't see her studying. God, teacher. God, so who told you to look at her paper? Zachary, he goofs off all the time. And you blessing him, giving him. Who told you to look at what Zachary's got? I got you in mind. You in mind. You stick with you. I'm telling you now, people of God, that God is going to make what he has given you look good.
Yes.
Amen.
Yes.
Mercy.
Yes.
Can I tell you something? If you are struggling with insecurities in here today, I want you to disabuse yourself of the notion that you are not good enough. I'm telling you what I know. Stop looking at other people's papers. Before, during, or after the test. I want to share something with you. God, so what is the plan? What is all of this for? And God says this. Here we go. God knew what he was doing from the very beginning. He decided from the outset to shape the lives of those who love him. Who's shaping it?
God.
He's shaping it along the same lines as the life of his son. This is the final revelation. So if you miss this, you're in trouble. The Son stands first in the line of humanity he restored. We see the original and intended shape of our lives there in him. Wait, what? What? In other words, the whole reason you're going through all that you're going through is so that God can get you to be like Jesus.
Amen.
Oh, you had something different in mind? Well, your goal is not good enough. You want me to be more like Jesus? Yes, that's why you went through the whole thing. Why am I going through all this? So that I can get you to be more like Jesus. But I want to get out of the frustration. No, what is the frustration? Do you realize that you're living for time and eternity? So what are these moments? Oh my God. If you've been in your Bible, what are these momentary afflictions? What?
Yes, sir.
God, I cannot even contain it. It's too much for me as a human being. So what are these light and momentary afflictions that you're going through? They are temporary. It is to bring you to the place where you become more like Jesus. Even though what if I never get married? I'll be frustrated forever. God says, who told you that? You looked at your mother's paper.
Wow.
Stop Stop looking at people's tests while you're going through or even after the test. What if I never get into a house? Okay. As long as I got you more like Jesus, my ends are satisfied. Huh. I'm telling you, that's deep. And so the verse ends, and then after let's go back. After he called them by name, he set them on a solid basis with himself. All right, wait, hold on. All right, here we go. After God made that decision of what his children should be like, more like Jesus, he followed it up by calling people by name. After he called them by name, he set them on a solid basis with himself. And then, after getting them established, he stayed with them to the end, gloriously completing what he had begun. In other words, anybody ever read a storytime book to a child? The story can seemingly keep going on, just like the test can go on. But at some point in time, God says, the teacher says, the parent says, the auntie, the uncle, the godparent, the grandparent says to the child, the end. And now it's time for the lesson. I don't know what you're going through today, but I see you becoming more like Jesus. If you're still dissatisfied with that, I don't know how else to help you but to live just a little bit while longer in what God has for you. And see if he can't give you a glorious end to it. But what if I never stop peeking? But what if I never gave that to you? But what if I have it in store for you, it will come to pass? But what if I don't, it won't? Can you be satisfied with my plan? But what if I never move to Atlanta like everybody else? Oh, quiet. But what if I never move to DC? Everything that pops up, everybody. But what if I never get to the point where I said, God, you satisfy me?
Yeah.
Start losing my hair. God, but what if I never grow my hair back? I never had that hair for you. Why does it twist over? I vicariously live through my boys. I cut their hair. And I'm like, God is blessing me in ways that he is not blessing me. Amen. I guess that's not my portion in life. But I still got, what am I going to do now? Go run to my corner and cry because God's plan is better for me than my plan?
Right.
If I can just settle with that for a minute, I see you becoming more like Jesus. I see you becoming more like Jesus. You had good intentions, but he had intentional living in mind for you. Yeah, he had intentional plans in store. He's still unfolding them for you. Don't give up on God simply because it's not what you have written down, or it's not what your vision of your life is, or it's not the vision that somebody else had for you, or you're playing a role in life because everybody told you would always be this, and now you're something different. You don't even know. Don't be ashamed of who God is making you into be. But what if I stop? Tell people in your life who are showing you their test results, I don't want to see that. God bless you. Good for you. It's not for me right now. Maybe it's not for me ever. But if God has a plan for me, I'm satisfied with that. How many folks in here are wrestling with the fact that God's plan might be different from everything you expected for your whole life? I thought so. That's where I am right now. Everything I visualize is in question. And it's a frustrating place to be because I've been having my hand up in prayer. And God's been like, put your hand down. It's a test. As long as you're becoming more like me, you're in my will. Yeah. All right. Every eye closed, please. If you feel that you need to stand, to be submitted, to concentrate right now in prayer, because you're wrestling with the fact that God may have something different for you than you had in store for yourself, feel free to do that. If you want to stay seated, that's fine. But I'm just telling you right now, I stand because my mind goes scatterbrain. I'm a scatterbrain person. I'm all over the place. God, this is not how I orchestrated this. If I wrote the script, it would be totally different. But I hear the writer say, all things are working for my good because you're intentional. And it's working for me. I may not have it settled in my heart yet, but if I keep repeating this, I believe it will come to pass in a place where I'm at peace with what you're doing in my life. And I know that since you want better for me than I want for myself, that this is my portion, and I am standing in agreement with your best, which is better than my good. Help me to develop a greater level of trust in you. Help me to develop a greater level of confidence in you. Help me to develop a greater level of trust in you. Help me to develop a greater level of confidence in you. God, I've seen some papers already and some test grades from other people, and I'm not going to lie, I'm jealous, I'm envious. I'm naturally a human being, so my eyes see and I want. God, it's not even all bad for me. Help me. Help me. Help me. Help me to trust your plan more than my wants. And God, in conclusion, would you show me? This is just not for ordinary believers. This is for the extraordinary believers in here. Show me in my lifetime why. You don't have to, but I'm asking. I know you don't have to, but I'm still asking. Because it'll help motivate me to trust you even more. Show me why. I know it's a process, and I'm ready to live it out with you. In Jesus' name. You can stay standing for a minute if that's you. You're still up. You're still praying. You're still seated. I know. Trust me. Believe me. I'm telling you, I didn't even want to use this message because I think in a weird way, the ending is a little unusual. This might be my portion for life. It might be. My doctors told me, I had to go back to the hospital this week. My doctors told me, as I've been on a funky diet, y'all can see I look good, I'm losing some weight. If you don't, the jealousy's all in it. Stop looking at my test and comparing yourself. I understand. But here's why I said that. The surgical team came and met with me, and I said, how long do I have to stay on this diet? It's been almost a month. And they said, we don't know how else to tell you this, but it might be for life. I said, what? My wife asked me, she said, well, what can I start cooking for you? And I said to her, I didn't say this, but they told me this might be it. And if that's the case, I don't know, God, why this? Because I smell certain foods and I'm like, I want to try that. And then I have to be reminded, it's working for me. He's working for me. All things working for my good. It's working